Chapter 1, The Nature of Art and Creativity. Learning objectives. 1.1, describe art as a means of visual expression that uses various media and forms. 1.2, explain what is meant by creativity. 1.3, discuss the role creativity plays in the work of trained and untrained artists. 1.4, assess the ways in which representational, abstract, and non-representational art relate to reality. 1.5, contrast the terms looking and seeing. 1.6, differentiate between form and content and show how artists may use iconography to communicate the latter. Introduction. The ability to create is a special characteristic of humans. Art is a common experience. The ability to create is one of the special characteristics of being human. The urge to make and enjoy what we call art has been a driving force throughout human history. Art is not something apart from us. Janet Eckelman artwork here, it's called Her Secret is Patience. It's inspired by the saguaro cactus. It's an artistic creation as a two-way street. So you bring information to the artwork as a viewer, and the artist has their intent. Bigger image of the artwork. It's multimedia, mixed media, fiber, still, and lighting. 1.1, describe art as a means of visual expression that uses various media and forms. Generally, art refers to music, theater, literature, and visual arts. Visual arts includes drawing, painting, sculpture, film, architecture, design, and it communicates meaning beyond verbal exchange. Work of art is a visual expression of an idea or experience formed with skill through the use of a medium. A medium is particular material along with its accompanying technique. The plural would be media. A medium is chosen by the artist to enforce the function of the work. In Eckelman's use of flexible netting, it responds to wind, and she chose that on purpose. You can use traditional or modern materials. Mixed media describes art created with a combination of materials, like Eckelman's work. Creativity is the ability to bring forth something new that has value, relevance, or a new way of thinking, not a novelty. There's a potential to influence a future thought or action through creativity. The 5 traits that define creativity are associating, questioning, observing, networking, experimenting. For visual creativity, use your imagery to communicate beyond words. Here's Robin Rhodes, He Got Game, in the year 2000. It's using visual creativity, using a simple means. It's a low-tech chalk drawing, different photographs here of a basketball hoop. It has the artist imitating a slow-motion photography and performing an impossible flip. Creativity is an attitude. Here's a bigger image of the photographs. What is creativity? So Romare Bearden here is taking a photo montage, a lot of fragmented images to create an artwork. It's the prevalence of ritual tidings. It's picture fragments. It suggests Christian enunciation. It's concerned with effectiveness of communication to the viewer, but an inner need for creative expression was equally important in the creation of this work. Here's a bigger image. You can see the fragments of photos, magazine imagery. It was created in 1967. Trained and untrained artists. Discuss the role creativity plays in the work of trained and untrained artists. We all have the potential to be creative. As far as training goes, in the past, artists were always trained with apprenticeships. Today, they are trained in art schools, colleges, universities, but training isn't always necessary to be creative. Folk artists are naive or outsider artists with little or no formal training. Here is an outsider art. Sabatino's Simon Rodia, Nuestro Pueblo, Our Town. It's one of the best known and largest pieces of outsider art in the United States. It makes use of cast-off materials. He created towers built without power tools, without rivets, welds, or bolts. Here's a distant view of the towers. And here's a close-up bigger view. Here's another example of outsider art. It is by Philadelphia Wireman, unknown creator, but likely a male creator. More than 1,000 hand-sized sculptures are created out of small objects wrapped in wire. Here's a bigger image. Has a watch face, bottle cap, nail, has a drawing on paper and wire, created in 1970. Folk art. Folk artists are part of established traditions of style, theme, and craftsmanship. Most have little systematic art training, and their art can take many forms, such as quilts, embroidered handkerchiefs, decorated weather vanes, sculptures, or customized cars. Here's an example of a quilt. It's quilting, a flourishing form of folk art by Mary Wallace. It's called Peony. It shows influence from Pennsylvania German pottery. And we already know that their art can take many forms. It's repetitive. Okay, here's a bigger image of the quilt. It's pieced applique and quilted cotton. Here's another example of folk art. Retablo paintings in Mexico and American Southwest give thanks to God, and they generally depict salvation. Here's a bigger image. Created in 1915, paint on tin. Children's art. This artwork's created by a girl named Alana, and this is her grandma. Children have an intuitive sense of composition, and they depict the world symbolically until about age 6, and then they begin to doubt their creativity by age 9 to 10. Here's an example, bigger example. There you go. As far as representational art goes, if we're going to look at representational, abstract, and non-representational art and how it relates to reality, representational art depicts the appearance of things. And then figurative art is when the human form is the primary subject. Objects are depicted in a representational art. Real-looking paintings in the trompe-l'oeil style, which is French for "for the eye." This is the example here of a trompe-l'oeil artwork. It's a smoke backstage. So representational art can be objects or figures. Here's a bigger image. We have some really nice trompe-l'oeil paintings at the Amon Carter, if you've ever been there, here in Fort Worth. Here's another example of representational art. We have Magritte's If It's Not a Pipe, What Is It? The answer is it is a painting, but it looks like a pipe. Representational object. Magritte is a surrealist. Here's a bigger image. Here's another example of representational art. It's a spinoff from Magritte. It's Beldner's This Is Definitely Not a Pipe. So not as clearly representational, but it's still representing a pipe. There's a complicated relationship between art and reality. This is a reproduction of Magritte's painting. The point is that representational art has a complex relationship to reality. Artists rarely merely depict what they see. Bigger image. Abstract art are works that have no reference at all to natural objects, or there can also be works that depict natural objects but in a simplified, distorted, or exaggerated way. It may be obvious to the viewer what it is that you're looking at, or you might need a verbal clue. Sometimes you get that in the title. It's common in many cultures. Here's an example of abstract art. It's a chief stool from Cameroon, and it shows repeated abstractions of the human form. So you have, I mean, it's not super realistic. It's stylized and it's a little out of proportion. The arms are really big, the torsos and the legs are really small. So people are representing the community that supports the chief. Chief stool. Abstract art. Abstraction of a cow. We have Van Doesburg's exploration of how far he could simplify a cow while still capturing its essence. If only the final painting is viewed, you would think that it was representational. I'll show you. This is the first artwork, which looks like an observational drawing of a cow, and it becomes more geometric and simplified, and even more geometric and simplified in another medium, in paint. And then very, very abstract here. And you would think that it was non-representational because you would not know that this image related to that cow in any way if you just saw this one artwork here. Alma Thomas, she was devoted to abstraction. She's a first graduate of Howard University art program in 1924. She taught art in a Washington, D.C. junior high school. She's a founding vice president of the first private gallery to show work by artists of all races. Here she is in 1972. And so she's devoted to art full time after her retirement from teaching. This is her abstract art here. She had her first solo exhibition at age 69. She was inspired by movement of leaves and flowers under different light to create this artwork, which is called White Roses Sing and Sing. She's the first African American to have a solo exhibition at the Whitney Museum. She always believed creativity was not bound by race or nation. Here's a bigger image of her work, created in 1976. White Roses Sing and Sing. Non-representational art, non-objective or non-figurative art presents visual forms with no specific references to anything outside of themselves, as in pure sound forms of music. This is an example of non-representational art. It has a wide variety of forms, compositions, moods, and messages possible. This is a pair of doors. It's from an Egyptian mosque. It's a wood carving. It draws and holds our attention despite not representing anything. It's just a pattern. Here's a bigger image. Here's another non-representational art by Carmen Herrera. It's called Yellow and Black. It is asymmetrical and sleek. It communicates a vigorous energy, maybe an agitated state of mind. May seem more difficult to grasp. Non-representational art. It can offer fresh ways of seeing and new visual experiences. It's a bigger image, the yellow and black. Contrast the terms looking and seeing. So looking implies taking in what is before us in a mechanical or goal-oriented way. Seeing, the difference is more open, receptive, and focused. Looking with memories, imaginations, and feelings attached is seeing. So when you're seeing, you're bringing all of that with it, and an appreciation of a form beyond function. Here is Edward Weston's Pepper number 30, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. This pepper looks like an embracing couple. It has a quality of glowing light from time exposure of over 2 hours. A seemingly common object is elevated to represent the artist's achievements, has a sense of wonder about the natural world. The process of seeing is different for every person. So, do you see this as a pepper? Here's a bigger image. Pepper number 30 in 1930. Differentiate between form and content and show how artists may use iconography to communicate the latter. Form is the total effect of the combined visual qualities within a work, which includes materials, color, shape, line, and design. Content is the message or meaning of the work of art, what the artist expresses or communicates to the viewer. Form and content are inseparable. Content determines form, and form expresses content. Here we have a contrast between Rodin's The Kiss and Brancusi's The Kiss. Rodin is on the left. Rodin's work is representational of Western ideals. It's a highly charged moment of lovers embracing. Brancusi's manipulation on the right of a solid block of stone represents lasting love, the symbolic concept of two becoming one. Rodin's The Kiss, Brancusi's The Kiss. Seeing and responding to form. The artist is the sender of the work's message. The viewer must receive and experience the work. We have to learn to respond to form. Subject matter can interfere with the perception of form. Look at pictures upside down to make the familiar unfamiliar. That is a good technique in trying to draw things. Whenever you want to look at it in a new way, you turn it upside down and you can look at things in a new way. Seeing and responding to form. This is George O'Keeffe's Jack in the Pulpit. It's a flower painting. It's enlarged to 4 feet in height. It's focusing only on the flower, nature, shapes, and colors. The viewer has to take time to observe an object that would normally be too small or passed over. So she makes it 4 feet high, big, and it's really close up and you can't recognize it very quickly that it is a plant. Here's a bigger image. Jack in the Pulpit number 5 from 1930. Iconography are subjects, symbols, and motifs used in an image to convey its meaning, such as mother and child as Mary and baby Jesus. And not all works contain iconography. In iconography, the Virgin of Carmel saving souls in purgatory. We have Christian iconography here. We have winged figures as angels, with God holding the orb of the world, the Holy Spirit as a dove, Mary wearing a crown, a cross signifying Christ, a scapular garment, which is a devotional garment important to gain Mary's promise of salvation. The scapular garment is a symbolic image of hope. There's a bigger image. Now we have the Amida Buddha, which is full of iconography. Asian traditions use rich iconographic language. We have the top knot on Buddha's hair, which symbolizes enlightenment. We have long earlobes that show he was a wealthy prince before he sought truth. His garments are simple. His hands are folded in a traditional position of meditation. And then the lotus flower throne symbolizes enlightenment can come in the midst of life. the Amida Buddha, bigger image. Here we have iconography where contemporary artists can mash up and quote various traditions. We have Rashid Newsom, the Saltire Compton. So we're talking about south of LA, the city of Compton. We have a frame that would normally be surrounded by a precious painting. And then we have scanned photos of hip hop bling in the middle. And then we have this X-shaped motif that's commonly found in flags and crests, which signifies heraldry. So bringing this Saltire Compton up to a heraldry level of it's like a crest of hip hop Compton. Bigger image. And voila, we are done with Chapter 1.